Hello, and welcome to the podcast. So, today I'll be talking about urban ecosystems and urban sustainability. So, I should start off by defining what an urban ecosystem is. An urban ecosystem is an ecosystem that is within an intensive land use biome. So, what constitutes an intensive land use biome? That could be a city, a smaller settlement, or an industrial area. And urban sustainability just focuses on how you can sustain an urban ecosystem and what needs to be done in order to sustain an urban ecosystem. Simply put, an urban ecosystem is made up of animals, plants, and humans that inhabit man made structures. These man made structures could be buildings, roads, or alleyways. So, what can be done to maintain urban ecosystems? There are many things that can be done at the individual or the policy level to maintain sustainability. And there has certainly been an increase of federal and state funding, both in the US and abroad, for green programs that focus on renewable energy sources, eco friendly products, and organic foods. But even with funding and government programs, the question remains the same: can urban areas become sustainable? Now, some urban areas are indeed sustainable, but long-term sustainability efforts would raise costs and could lead to attrition in individuals, where some individuals stop following sustainability efforts, either due to a lack of monetary expense or due to them being busy with work or schooling. It is also difficult to get funding for sustainability programs in the first place. Just think of the process. A program has to be drafted, reviewed by scientists and politicians alike, be approved to go to a vote, and then get voted on. And then, and only then, can it be put in place. With those obstacles in mind, one could understand why it is tough to not just get funding, but also get public approval for a sustainability project, even when there are a lot of suggestions around. Now I want to switch it up and talk about what some of these policies actually are. More specifically, I want to talk about city parks, green cities, and food forests. Starting with city parks, they are proven to have both short-term and long-term health benefits to the people and the communities they serve, besides their entertainment and relaxation value. City parks also increase the value of surrounding neighborhoods and may lead to more money being invested from local governments to improve infrastructure. Higher value in neighborhoods would mean more happiness for the people residing in the surrounding areas. Green cities, otherwise known as sustainable cities, are designed to address social, environmental, and economic impact through urban planning and city management. But there are pros and cons to green cities. They are sustainable and they do reduce emissions, but they are also expensive and difficult to maintain. Coupled with policy decisions concerning urban sustainability, green cities are very expensive and frankly unattainable for a lot of countries. The effects of climate change could also decrease the effectiveness of green cities, especially in coastal areas. In coastal areas, water treatment and overall water availability could become major issues with rising sea levels. Food forests are agricultural systems that mimic a woodland ecosystem. They can be made by growing trees, shrubs, and plants. They are low maintenance and can provide food and environmental benefits. Food forests can be grown individually on the neighborhood level or a city-wide level. I also want to talk about urban ecosystems and urban wildlife. When it comes to wildlife in urban ecosystems, organism diversity is very similar to other ecosystems in that a lot of biodiversity can be found at many levels of organismic life. These profound differences in biodiversity, coupled with pollution and chemical exposure, could lead to scientists not being able to fully identify species or just not observing a species, which may lead to extinction. There are two main types of urban wildlife: human adapters and human avoiders. So, how does this factor into conservation efforts? Human adapter animals are more prone to living around humans and could gain advantages from humans. Human avoiders, on the other hand, avoid humans at all costs, which could lead them to areas with more limited resources. Generally, it's more difficult to try and preserve organisms that actively avoid human interactions. It may also be more difficult to identify said organisms in the first place. So altogether, today I've talked about urban ecosystems, what they are composed of, and individual and policy decisions that can influence and preserve urban ecosystems. Urban areas have highly diverse ecosystems with plenty of nuances. So are wholesale conservation efforts worth it, and will they be funded? Or should scientists focus on endangered species conservation? Funding of statewide or citywide conservation efforts are costly if they are approved or funded, and will probably not be worth it in short or long-term situations due to profound biodiversity, which will still lead to extinction. If scientists focus on endangered species instead, it takes less funding and is easier to sell to the general public, which will be responsible for said funding. But all of these topics are up for debate and will continue being debated for years to come. And for as long as these issues are debated, there's going to be less and less action being taken towards conserving ecosystems and making urban areas more sustainable for future generations. With that, I want to thank you for joining me today and have a good rest of your day.